All right, so the 8.2.0 PTB developer update is here for August 2024. And I gotta be honest, I'm surprised with a lot of the changes they brought in. So first up, we got the killer changes. So first up is Dredge. Increased movement speed while charging Reign of Darkness to 3.8 was 3.6. So now instead of moving at 92 when he's holding his Remnant, he's going to be moving at like 96% when holding Remnant. Increases teleport speed outside of Nightfall to 19 meters per second was 12. So this is like at 12, he's, I don't know, 4 meters faster than sprinting Billy in Overdrive and like 5 meters faster than Blight. Reduced teleport cooldown outside of Nightfall to 10 seconds was 12, so it's a 2-second difference. Decreased time to break out of locker to 2.25 was 3. Increased charge rate of Nightfall meter to charge 1 per second per injured survivor was 0.75. And reduced volume of Dredge's sound effects to make it harder to detect. Adjusted several add-ons. I think it's kind of funny on that last one, second to last one, because when he's in Nightfall, dude, he sounds like a freaking hurricane. I have no idea why they made him that loud, considering he's also lit up white. Like, I think you could make him not lit up white at all, and he would, I mean, he'd be better, but he still wouldn't be crazy. We increased the Dredge's movement speed while charging his power and teleporting to give it a slight boost in strength and feel. The Dredge could be definitely difficult to take advantage of the reduced visibility during Nightfall due to the loud sound effects while approaching, so we reduced their volume. Okay, and then obviously they made Hattie's calendar base kit, and they weakened that add-on, right? Oh, a little bit base kit. Overall, I think some pretty solid changes to the Dredge. I think the Dredge was definitely struggling. The only really great part about his Remnant was the fact that at a 50-50 loop, it was basically a guaranteed hit. That's pretty much all he had going for him with the Remnant. And his locker speed outside of Nightfall was an add-on, so I'm assuming they're going to weaken that add-on as well. So yeah. The Doctor gets changes again. That's 2 updates back-to-back. Reduces static blast cooldown to 30 seconds if no survivors are in range. Reduce static blast cooldown to 45 seconds if a survivor is in range. So it's a net across the board. It's just you're gonna have it up more. Increased movement speed while charging static blast to 2.99. It's kind of weird. Why not just 3.0? Was 1.16. And adjusted static blast cooldown add-ons accordingly. So, you know, you're not going to be going as slow when charging the static blast. Not really that big of a deal, honestly. Because I don't think you're never really using the static blast in chase. I mean, sometimes you are, but usually you're not. You know, you're using it to find people who are going for a flashlight save or a hook save, Sabo, something like that, pallet save, or when you just can't find anybody. So the movement speed I didn't really think mattered, but it is a nice like quality of life change because nobody wants to be moving at 1.16. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you're going to have static blast a lot more, which I think will be decent for Doctor. I still think Doctor kind of struggles a lot. There's a lot of loops in this game where he has to like shock somebody 80 times before he can get the pallet out of him. And there's some loops in this game where you can just gain Bloodlust and get the M1 faster that way than shocking at all. So the Doctor's Static Blast can be a helpful tool for players who struggle to find survivors, but the long cooldown makes it punishing to miss. We've reduced the Static Blast cooldown slightly if a survivor is affected, and reduced it much further if nobody's in range. So, obviously. This one was interesting. The Nemesis, I was expecting him to see like 3 or 4 zombies, but it looks like that's not the case. So, requirement for reaching mutation rate 2 has been reduced to 5 contain points, was 6. Increased hindered penalty duration to 2 seconds, was 0.25. Adjusted Liquor Tongue and Marvin's Blood add-on. The Liquor Tongue add-on is the one where it hinders the survivor a little bit longer, and the Marvin's Blood add-on increases the amount of contamination points you get for hitting a survivor, right? And I thought it was kind of interesting because the Liquor Tongue, it did nothing. You know, if you hit a survivor with your tentacle, you cannot even possibly perceive the fact that they're hindered at all in the slightest. And then if you're using the Liquor Tongue on top of the base get hindered, it felt like nothing as well. Now they literally, that's 10 times? Yeah, 10 times? I don't know. I'm terrible at math. 5 times? I don't know. More of an effect. We still don't know what the hindered penalty is. It's just the duration's increased by 2 seconds. So what is the penalty like? Is it 6%, 8%? I don't know. I guess I could look that up probably. To help get them up and running, we reduced the requirement for Nemesis to reach mutation rate 2. This effectively means the Nemesis can reach mutation rate 2 in the first 3 tentacle strikes on a single survivor. So now, like Atsdarva suggested, you hit a survivor, hit a new survivor, and then hit that survivor again, right? That'll get you to your full contamination and reach stage 2. But now you can just tentacle, 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 and by the time you down the first survivor with tentacles only, you'll be at tier 2, which is kind of important to get into tier 2 because that allows you to shred through those pallets. So, yeah. The hindered effect caused by infecting a survivor was previously very short, making its effect inconsequential. Yeah, to say the least. It seems like if a survivor moves at 100, it probably made them move at 99 for 0.25 seconds. That's what it felt like, at least. We've extended the hinder effect to last throughout the speed boost of survivor games from being hit with a tentacle, reducing the amount of distance they gain. All right, now we got perk updates, and I'm kind of blown away what they did. No killer perk updates, all survivor perk updates. Blast Mine got a buff. Reduced activation requirement to 40%. Generator repairs was 50. Does this make it practical? No, but let's be honest, that's not why you're using Blast Mine. We've slightly reduced the repair requirement to make it a little easier to activate, but not so easy that it becomes annoying to phase. They're meaning practical as in does it really do much, and a lot of people feel like it doesn't. It is a 5-second stun on a killer. You know, don't get me wrong, that you land 2 Blast Mines a game, that's 10 seconds. If you have a full man Swift doing it, that's like, what, 40 seconds? You know what I mean? So it can be practical, but if you're just using it on your own, it really doesn't do too much, except for buy you a few seconds to maybe get away or something if you're injured. So, yeah, they made it 40%, made it more frequent. I honestly don't think it really needed it. It has its use case. It's kind of a more along the lines of niche perk, and it says, but let's be honest, that's why you're. But let's be honest, that's not why you're using Blast Mine. I'm assuming that's referencing people laughing at killers getting stunned by Blast Mine, which I really don't even know why that's a thing. Like, people say, oh, the killer got caught by Blast Mine, haha. Well, it's like, no, even if I know a generator has Blast Mine on it, I'm still going to kick it and get Blast Mine because I want to start the generator regressing. What am I going to do, just leave a gen that's at 90%? Oh, I don't want to get Blast Mine, I don't want to look like a goofball, so I'm just going to leave this gen to get popped. You know what I mean? That's kind of stupid. And also the fact that the next perk, Wiretap, is a possibility. I'm especially going to eat that Blast Mine because if I eat the Blast Mine, kick the gen, any Wiretap that could be potentially there and loot me for like 2 minutes straight like I did to that Trickster is gone now. And speaking of which, Wiretap, same condition, 40% repairs was 50. Wiretap can be very useful, though since the killer must be nearby, it's always a risk of being destroyed. To get it back up and running sooner, we reduced the repair requirements. Obviously, again, not needed at all. I think 50% was a fine effect, considering how strong it can be for the majority of the killers. Like, I have a video where I looped a Trickster, like, I don't know, 3 straight minutes with Wiretap, because I got 2 of them back-to-back. Not really that hard to do, honestly. And then Chemtrap, reduced the activation requirement to 20% gen repairs was 50. Reduced trap duration to 60 seconds was 2 minutes. Chemical Trap's previous requirement was a little steep for the effect granted. We significantly reduced the repair requirement to allow it to come into play more often. At the same time, we reduced the trap's lifespan so the killer has more choice in whether to break certain pallets until the trap has expired. 60 seconds is still too long. Honestly, if a survivor puts a Chem Trap down at, I don't know, 70 to 80% of the pallets in the game, you should probably break them. It just depends. I mean, you're going to be hindered by, what, 20% for 6 seconds, which does suck. But you still need to get that pallet off the field if it's a solid pallet. If it's like a 50-50 pallet, you can avoid it, sure. But 60 seconds is still too long, you know? You're not going to get a chemical trap put on Shack pallet and then try to avoid Shack pallet for 60 seconds, you know what I mean? Or any type of God pallet. 60 seconds is just way too long. So, you know, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, you know what I mean? I still don't think you're going to see it that often because it's kind of niche, and yeah. Mirrored Illusion, reduced activation requirement to 20% was 50, reduced duration to 60 was 120. While fun to use, Mirrored Illusion tends not to be a game changer. We significantly reduced activation requirement to make it, to really make the killer question what's real. Mirrored Illusion is just bad, honestly. I don't see any survivors use it. I think I seen it maybe a couple times the first week came out. It's super easy to know what's happening. You don't really buy it. Even at, I've never seen it at range. Like, maybe it would convince me to throw a cross-map hatchet at a Mirrored Illusion, but even then, nobody even uses it enough, and it would only really affect one killer, because when you're close up to it, you can tell it's fake. So, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's cool they buffed it. Nobody's going to run it. Dance With Me reduced the cooldown to 20 seconds was 40 seconds. Obviously, they're talking about how it takes too long to use it multiple times in chase, so they're trying to make it happen. This is whenever you fast vault a window, your scratch marks and pools of blood are gone for, like, I don't know, 10 seconds or something like that, 6 seconds. Deception, reduced cooldown to 20 seconds was 40. That's the one where you sprint, open a locker, hide your scratch marks and pools of blood. So, yeah. Diversion, reduced to 20 seconds was 30. Diversion requires being within the killer's terror radius without being chased. This is much stricter than a typical cooldown, so we've cut the requirement down significantly. Honestly, I was kind of expecting to see Distortion here, because, like, Distortion is so much better than Diversion in every way. Why does Distortion not have a requirement like either not being in a chase or being in a chase. You know what I mean? Why can't it get tokens back whether in or out of chase, just in the tear radius? You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, Pebble comes back faster. Because I guess, Pebble is stronger than Distortion, I guess, confirmed. You know what I mean? Flashbang reduced the requirement to 40%, was 50. Flashbangs come in handy, though the perk takes a while to activate. We reduce the cooldown slightly to give them the minor boost. This is kind of the most crazy one, honestly, because flashbangs are way more powerful than flashlights, because it doesn't matter if a killer's facing a wall. If they throw it at the right angle, all they have to do is literally be all up on your hitbox, and they drop the flashbang. Doesn't matter if you're looking at a wall at all. Doesn't matter if you're looking at the sky at all. They can throw it inside your hitbox and get that safe, and there's absolutely no counterplay to it. And now it's going to be even a little bit more, even a little faster. So we'll see how that goes out. But yeah, not going to affect some of the killers who run Lightborn permanently. So will affect me though. Prestige. Remove prestige levels are no longer available, or remove prestige levels are no longer shown in the pregame lobby. Seeing a high prestige level causes some players to feel intimidated and leave the lobby. This has a negative effect on matchmaking and discourages players from playing their favorite survivors. Prestige levels will no longer be shown in pregame lobby. They will remain visible after the match has ended, so you can show off your accomplishments. Honestly, I know this bothers a lot of people. I don't really care. I mean, I do a little bit. It was nice to know what I was getting into. Obviously P100 doesn't mean skill. It just means that's their favorite survivor, right? I would go into a lobby, I'd see 4 P100s, and I'd be like, I'm probably going to have to try a little bit harder. I'd probably switch my build up too. If I'm doing a goofy build or just a chill build, and then I see 4 P100s, I'm like, okay, let me switch to my quad slowdown, you know what I mean, on night or whatever, whoever I'm playing at the time. And so now this isn't going to be an option. So now there's probably going to be a lot more instances where you're just trying to have fun, do goofy builds, and you're going to go up against Sweat Lords who just absolutely clear the field. But at that point, who really cares? There's not much you can do. I would just play to have fun anyways at that point. Don't stress about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is good for the survivors who want to hide their high prestige. So yeah. Hook states. This one's pretty controversial. Let me get something to drink here. Increased duration of hook phases to 70 seconds, was 60. Some time ago, the total repairs of generators was increased. For the most part, this was a positive change, though it had the side effect of making camping more effective. Focusing on repairs was the best way to counter survivors. Focusing on repairs was the best way for other survivors to counter camping, but with repairs taking longer, survivors aren't able to get as much done as they could before a survivor is sacrificed. To combat this, we are increasing the duration of the hook phase to 70 seconds. This will allow more time for survivors to repair if the killer comes to camp the hook survivor. I have a few problems with this. One, camaraderie and reassurance are made to punish campers. Nobody ever uses them. Because let's be honest, camping really doesn't happen all that often, at least in my matches. Maybe I'm just a low MMR survivor, but camping is pretty rare. It's usually tunneling, coming right back to unhook. That's pretty much what I see. So yeah, there's 70 seconds now. It kind of sucks because pretty frequently I would be in matches against some really good survivors when I've went on too high of a winning streak. And I would, down hook a survivor and then go look for other survivors, and then all of a sudden 1, 2, 3 gens pop all at once, and I'm like, okay, they got greedy and they popped 3 gens, which is fine. You do you. I don't blame you for that at all. But now I lost 3 gens. I'm gonna make sure this person gets to stage 2, and maybe I'll force a trade. Now that's gonna be a little bit harder, and the stages are a little bit longer. 10 seconds per survivor. That's 40 seconds per stage for all 4. 80 seconds for 2. You know what I mean? So if a situation like that happens now, the best bet probably would to be secure stage 2 and then wait for the survivors to unhook and then come tunnel out that survivor and kill that survivor immediately. So now you're in a 1v3 with 2 gens left. That'll make things more fair for you. But yeah, I don't know. I think 60 seconds was the perfect time, even though generators are at 80 or 90 now, because you would cut it close, you would try to get that time in, try to get a little bit more gens in, and then you would have to run and unhook, or else you're in danger of putting them to stage 2. Maybe you 90 a gen, and you're like, damn, I gotta go get it because nobody else is getting it, and then the killer has a chance to kick your gen and slow the game down a little bit. This is just really going to help out with gin rushing. This is really going to help out the most with smart survivors, but, you know, the less smart survivors, it's probably not going to change too much. They'll probably unhook immediately anyway, so yeah. And then we got scratch marks, improved scratch mark visibility. Dev note, scratch marks are an important tracking tool, but can be hard to see on some surfaces. We've reviewed each map to make sure they're adequately visible. There's scratch marks on the ceiling? I don't think I've ever seen scratch marks go that high. That's crazy how high they are. It is nice how bright they are. Hopefully they made them a little bit more frequent too, because I've had a real problem for the past month with just not being able to keep up on scratch marks. Because there'll be like an 8-meter gap where there's just nothing. And it's like, okay. So, and hopefully this helps out on the Coldwind Farm maps, because on Coldwind Farm, the map is like orange damn near. It was really bad on Borgo, but Borgo got changed. It's kind of hard to see scratch marks on the farm map. And then finally, Midwich Elementary School got an update. Removed breakable walls in the bathrooms. So the little area, the little shortcut you could open up that would also give survivors access to that opening, which I pretty much never opened up, honestly, because it gave the survivors so much power in that regard. Well, those breakable walls are gone. It's just permanent. You can just permanently take that shortcut. So there's that. Navigating between the floors could be difficult on this map for those who didn't have it memorized. To make it easier to get between floors, we removed the breakable walls that permanently block the path between the floors to improve the vertical mobility. So now instead of the 2 staircases on the opposite sides of the map, now you got basically 3 staircases. Well, 4 in total, actually, because you had that room with the broken ground. You had the 2 staircases, the room with the broken ceiling that allowed you up, and now you're going to have 4 ways up, 1 in each corner of the map, basically. Altered layouts of hallways to reduce long-range visibility. Added objects near exit gates to reduce visibility. The hallways used to have long sight lines, making it easy to spot approaching killers and difficult for survivors to hide. We've moved some objects around to limit the hallways. We've also added objects obstructing the views of the exit gates to make it harder to stand in the center and monitor both gates at once. Now, I think that's why Midwich had such a high kill rate, is because you could literally watch both gates at the same time. I mean, that's honestly crazy. That should have never been a thing, even though I like it. You know, the map's so small. I think it's fine being able to see both gates, but it needs to be on a really big map. I'm not a big fan of this. The hallways used to have long sight lines, making it easy to spot approaching killers and difficult for survivors to hide. Like, the changes they've been making lately have been hurting Huntress more and more and more and more. This was one of the few tolerable maps for her, indoor maps, because it had the long sightlines in the hallways, and you could land a long-range hatchet. Like, that was your only chance to use your power, really, is in the hallways. And even so, there's one hallway where the lockers stick out like halfway into the aisle, so it was really hard to land a hatchet there. But now they're just removing that entirely from all hallways, so this is going to be another miserable map for the Hunters. Then on top of that, the Coldwind Farm maps got new tiles, the Yamaoka Estate maps got new tiles, and the Ormond map got new tiles. Ormond got a whole bunch of clutter added to it. Yamaoka and the Coldwind Farms got an insane amount of new high wall tiles that are like short, that really don't affect M1 killers too much, but absolutely gut Huntress, because it's literally impossible. Even with Flower Babushka and Oak Haft, you can't land a hatchet at these loops because it's a high wall loop, so obviously you can't land a hatchet over a high wall, and it's so short that by the time you ready up and are able to throw it as fast as possible, the survivor's taking the corner already, so it's yet another loop that you have to M1 at. So this is kind of unfortunate. I really don't like the way these maps are going, honestly. But yeah, another indoor map that's awful for Huntress. Now there's pretty much no saving grace at all for any indoor maps, because I would always say indoor maps are really bad for Huntress, but Midwich was the exception. Now Midwich isn't even the exception anymore. All indoor maps are going to be terrible for us. So yeah, that does it for this one. Damn, 20 minutes. Holy crap. All right, well, that does it for this one. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. 20 minutes. I was yapping.